I do not think that formal introductions are necessary. Poirot, Hercule Poirot.
His name is synonymous with wit, charm, and boundless talent. He wasn't just an actor, he was a writer, a director, a humorist, a humanitarian, and one of the greatest raconteurs, storytellers of modern times. From his early days on the London stage to his Oscar-winning performances and his lifelong dedication to world peace, he left an indelible mark on the world of film, theatre, and beyond. Today, we are going to dive into the fascinating life and remarkable career of one of Britain's most versatile and celebrated entertainers, Peter Ustinov.
I could have gone into crime because it's very similar as a profession. It's the same, it's the other side of the same coin, my friend. Heads or tails? Oh, crime. No, I think not.
Ustinov came into my life with his iconic role of Hercule Poirot. And indeed, despite Ustinov's immense talent and arsenal of roles, many of us got familiar with his looks thanks to his remarkable portrayal of Agatha Christie's famous Belgian detective Hercule Poirot in 6 films released from the late 1970s to the late 1980s. Well, he was also a foreigner. He spoke fluent French, was quite at ease in high society gatherings, and it was sort of natural for him to behave eccentrically, even extravagantly, in the eye of some stiffed upper-lipped purists. So no wonder his take on the part was destined to become memorable, to say the least.
There are those who have called me the greatest detective of all time, a description with which I find it difficult to quarrel.
Made for cinema, Death on the Nile from 1978 and Evil Under the Sun from 1982 are considered to be his particularly successful book adaptations. There is an anecdote once told by Ustinov himself that when Rosalind Hicks, Agatha Christie's daughter, first saw him in this role, she said, "That's not Poirot." And Ustinov replied, "It is now, my dear."
I heard your SOS. Do you think it was put there deliberately?
Of course it was. But it will take more than a serpent to interrupt the investigation of Hercule Poirot.
And with this remarkable self-assurance and humor, Ustinov played the by-design eccentric Belgian detective like no one else did.
Don't you have any more optimistic feelings? They all look so depressed.
Ustinov reprised his role as Poirot in several made-for-TV films like 13 at Dinner, Dead Man's Folly, and Murder in 3 Acts. His television Poirot performances are just as loved as the cinematic ones.
What's he got there? It's a duck! Oh, God, it's a dead duck!
Ustinov's last appearance as Poirot in 1988, Appointment with Death, is united with the rest of the works by its superb selection of all-star actors for the supporting parts.
Oh, Jep, what brings you out so early?
Early? I've been up for hours, on business, murder.
What's even more mind-blowing is that in the 13 at Dinner episode, Ustinov actually did cross paths with David Suchet, the next Grand Poirot, or as most agree, truly the definitive one. Did you know that back then, in 1985, while Ustinov plays Poirot, Suchet appears on screen as no one else but Inspector Japp?
She kills him, perhaps, by accident. Impulsively.
It makes sense, Poirot.
Oh, great minds think alike.
I withdraw my comment.
Obviously, albeit immensely successful, that role of Poirot was just one of multiple kaleidoscope reflections of Ustinov's fascinating life and career. So, what made him so special as an actor? Born on April 16, 1921, Peter Alexander Ustinov came into the world in a multicultural family in London. His anglicized name at birth was Peter Alexander Freiherr von Ustinov, or Baron von Ustinov. An Englishman without a drop of English blood, as he would describe himself. His father, Jona Freiherr von Ustinov, was a German journalist and a diplomat of Russian, hence the surname, as well as German, Polish, Jewish, and Ethiopian descent, since imagine Ustinov's great-grandfather had married the Princess of Ethiopia. Now it is also revealed that he was a MI5 agent.
I swear on the life of my mother.
And his mother, Nadezhda Leontievna Ustinova, née Nadia Benoit, was a Russian-born painter who came from the famous Benoit family of artists. For instance, her family owned their own Leonardo da Vinci. Today, the Benoit Madonna is one of the highlights of the State Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg. In fact, Ustinov's circle of immediate relatives and their incredible lives deserve a whole video on its own. I suggest you have a look at his humorously written autobiography, Dear Me, where he elaborates on the adventures of his family since the 18th century in every detail. So no wonder that this diverse yet mostly artistic heritage infused Peter's early life with a sense of internationalism. Thanks to that, he became fluent in several languages, a trait that would become a hallmark of his later career.
I don't know where he is. I scolded him and sent him off to play with his home chemistry set. He's made another mistake.
Growing up, young Peter wasn't just a typical child. He possessed a vivid imagination and a remarkable ability to mimic voices and accents, a skill that would prove crucial in his future acting engagements. Like, by the age of 3, he already mimicked politicians and famous people of the epoch, like, surprisingly, Hitler or Mussolini. At that early age in 1924, he gave such a performance in front of the stunned Ethiopian emperor Haile Selassie in his distinguished entourage, when Ustinov's parents invited them for dinner. In addition, the intense rows and his family were far too frequent, and although they stayed together for the rest of their lives, this constant fighting between his parents made young Peter seek refuge in developing a mind of his own, engaging in these early flirtations with satire. It's funny, yet in his first Mr. Gibbs Preparatory School for Boys in London, the mistress in charge of the dramatics stated that young Peter had little talent. Well, this nonsense didn't discourage the boy, and he became notorious for entertaining his classmates with impersonations of their teachers.
Of course, one of the first things of growing up, the most important thing of growing up, is to learn to live with injustice, or what you believe to be injustice. And once you've learnt that, you can live miserably ever after.
Despite his obvious talent, Ustinov struggled with formal education. An early school report on him said, "He shows great originality, which must be curbed at all costs." So, not surprisingly, he left school at 16, determined to pursue a career in the arts. "I was not irresistibly drawn to the drama," he would write later. "It was an escape road from the dismal rat race of school."
Perfection is death. It's boring. It has no personality. That's one of the secrets of life. In order to have personality, you can't be perfect.
In the late 1930s, Peter's dream of becoming an actor was slowly taking shape. He joined the London theatre studio by the French émigré Michel Saint-Denis, where he trained in acting and stagecraft. But as fate would have it, the outbreak of World War II in 1939 interrupted his emerging career. Ustinov enlisted in the British Army, yet his application to join military intelligence was rejected despite his good memory and the ability to speak different languages. "I was told I was unsuitable since I don't possess a face that could be lost easily in a crowd," the actor recalled in his memoir.
You know, the many years you stayed behind a desk in military intelligence have left you entirely innocent. Oh, you observed me tonight a little out of force of habit, but you failed to observe the professional actor acting.
By the way, if you are curious, Ustinov spoke 3 languages fluently. These were English, French, and German. He could speak and understand Russian, though confessed he never knew it really well. And he could also get by in Spanish, Italian, knew some Turkish and modern Greek.
Oh, yes.
Здравствуйте, or something of a kind. Do svidania, am I right? Ha ha.
In fact, Ustinov even provided his own German and French dubbing for some of his roles.
The last thing I want to do is to hurt your feelings, but you must realize sooner or later there is a considerable difference between military intelligence and normal intelligence.
So Ustinov served as a private and for a time became Batman to the already a star actor David Niven, who was engaged to star in a new wartime movie aimed to inspire new recruits. This way, Ustinov had a chance to stay in the luxury of the Ritz Hotel and then follow Niven to a location in North Africa. This way, the significant part of the war he spent with the Army cinema unit.
It was a consistently horrifying and yet comic experience. We had a sergeant major who was punch drunk and who spent all his time avoiding imaginary blows. And the nearest he could get to my name was Itno.
How dare he talk to the king like that? How dare he?
My dear, if he wasn't afraid of Napoleon, we can hardly expect him to be afraid of you.
On no account is this man to be put in charge of others. This was how Private Ustinov was described in his army report after 4.5 years in uniform. I never had a greater impression of wasting my time, and indeed my country's time, than I did in the army. I loathed every moment of it, and I would not have missed it for the world, Ustinov recalled in return. By the way, it was during those years that he first expressed his anti-war and disarmament ideas that would later lead to his work for UNICEF and UNESCO.
You. I shall proceed to the nearest manufacturing town, sir, and obtain respectable employment.
Yes, very good.
Remembering, of course, to carry my gas mask, sir.
To be perfectly English, you must always remember to forget to carry your gas mask.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And at the same time, in 1942, he made his screen debut in the British film The Goose Steps Out, a wartime comedy where he also contributed to the screenplay. And his film role in One of Our Aircraft is Missing, also from 1942, turned out to be one of the best war films made during World War II. And while these works didn't propel him to immediate stardom, they marked the beginning of a long and illustrious film career.
My new role. It shall rise in gleaming white beauty, master gem of the world's crown. It shall have a new name. Neropolis, city of Nero. Magnificent hail, divinity.
By the 1950s, Peter Ustinov's talent for comedy, coupled with his ability to inhabit characters from all walks of life, had made him a sought-after performer in Britain and beyond. His big Hollywood break came into 1951, when he appeared in the epic historical drama Quo Vadis. Ustinov portrayed the flamboyant and unstable Roman Emperor Nero, a role that showcased his unique ability to mix drama with comedy, and it earned him his first Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor and a well-deserved Golden Globe Award.
They wanted me to play the part, but they thought I might be a little young for the role. I said that Nero died at the age of 31. If they waited any longer, I would be too old.
This role was just the beginning. Through the 1950s and 1960s, Ustinov became a familiar face in both British and American cinema. He starred in films like The Egyptian and Lola Montes and worked with Hollywood legends, but it was his role as the cunning slave owner, Lentulus Batyrus, in the epic historical film Spartacus that won him his first Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
Would 500,000 sesterces make you brave?
500,000?
Mm-hmm. Let's reduce him still further. Around 1,000,000.
1,000,000. For such a sum, I could bribe Jupiter himself.
Ustinov wasn't just a brilliant actor. In this domain only, his talents extended to writing, directing, and producing. In 1956, he wrote, directed, and starred in Romanov and Juliet, a modern retelling of Romeo and Juliet, set during the Cold War, where Romeo was the son of the Soviet ambassador and Juliet the daughter of the American ambassador. The three-act play, absolutely neoclassical in form, was a critical success. 5 years later, in 1961, it was released as a film, which further established Ustinov as a true Renaissance man of cinema.
The Soviet telephones don't break down.
Nor do Concordian pigeons.
Oh.
His sharp wit and intellect were also evident in the many plays he wrote, often infused with satirical commentary on politics, society, and human nature. In 1964, he portrayed the bumbling, reluctant thief Arthur Simpson, an English small-time black marketeer in Turkey who gets caught up in a jewel heist in Topkapi movie.
And do you know what he used to say to me? He used to say, Arthur. He used to call me Arthur. Arthur, you're a carbuncle on the behind of humanity. Carbuncle. I'm a nothing. I'm a nobody. Me with a gun.
This part became one of his most beloved comedic roles and brought Ustinov another Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, solidifying his status as one of the most versatile performers of his generation. Whether he was playing a scheming emperor, a thief, or a lovable detective, Ustinov brought a unique blend of his humor, intelligence, and heart to every role. Have you noticed this curious detail? His Academy Awards, nominations, and awards always came from the supporting actor side. Does that mean he didn't play the key parts that much? Perhaps that's the thing that makes his acting pathway close to the professional destinies of many actresses of his generation we already talked about in my previous videos, like, say, Angela Lansbury or Margaret Rutherford. No doubt he had quite a peculiar look, an imposing figure, variously described as resembling a teddy bear or giant panda, not what was expected from a typical Hollywood male actor in a leading role of a hero, lover, or something. Well, it seems that now the controversial standards of the epoch did not only concern female actors, but also affected the prospects of their male counterparts.
Ladies and gentlemen, having been educated in English school, we were taught for at least 15 years of our lives how to lose gracefully, and I've been preparing myself for that all afternoon.
By the way, Ustinov, like all great actors, was much more than looks alone. In 1973, he provided his remarkable voice for Prince John in Disney's animated version of Robin Hood, both in English and German.
To coin a phrase, my dear counselor, rob the poor to feed the rich. Am I right?
His performance added layers of comedic charm and villainy, making it one of his most popular voice roles in animation history. Oh, and Ustinov also was a stage and opera director, a screenwriter, and a novelist himself. Besides several fiction novels, he wrote a best-selling autobiography, Dear Me, and his narration of Sergei Prokofiev's Peter and the Wolf won him a Grammy.
I've had a fair wind, and I've taken many fine prizes.
Obviously, when you remember the life and career of an actor of such magnitude, it gets nearly impossible to look at all of his body of work, which, in case of Ustinov, is really worth spending time on. Not just because it was so precise or important cinema history-wise, but also because many of his works on screen were simply a pure delight to watch. I was irrevocably betrothed to laughter, the sound of which has always seemed to me the most civilized music in the world, the actor once said about himself. So I think it's rather unsurprising that we tend to particularly highlight his comedy parts, for which he had a special gift. Would you agree here?
Oh, it isn't fair. Here we are, three desperate criminals who'll stop at nothing to escape from Devil's Island, and we have to fall in with nice people.
Like in We Are No Angels classical comedy from 1955, Ustinov appears alongside Humphrey Bogart, playing one of three escaped convicts trying to reform themselves. Or take Hot Millions from 1968, a charming heist comedy co-written by Ustinov himself, where he plays a computer expert, Marcus Pendleton, who finds a unique way to swindle his employer.
What's that funny smell?
Smell?
It's like burning rubber.
Oh, that smell you get when you've got the air condition turned on to fresh air.
Oh.
Well, that may be the smell of fresh air by now. I can't remember.
I don't think I'm going to like it here. Whew.
3 years prior to that, in 1965, he also appeared in a small but hilarious role in Lady L, another romantic comedy alongside Sophia Loren and Paul Newman. And again, he made his royal character flamboyant and eccentric and memorable, which was his signature, Ustinov's masterstroke. Perhaps you prefer his dramatic parts most, or his creative television documentaries. I'd be thrilled to read your contributions and advice on what to watch in the evening, since here I've barely scratched the surface, really. Feel free to post your reviews in the comments to this video.
Humor, especially satire. Why is satire so important to you?
Because any country that has really been in difficult straits, the first yardstick that is happening is that their sense of humor vanishes. Nazi Germany had absolutely no humorist and no humor. The humorous level of crocodile in Moscow is not particularly high. I think that humor is one of the best safety valves that a country can have, and I think it always has been, throughout history, a terribly important thing.
Beyond the world of acting, Peter Ustinov had a profound commitment to humanitarian causes. He served as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador for over 30 years, traveling the globe to raise awareness about the plight of children in conflict zones and underprivileged regions. Ustinov believed that humor and communication were vital tools for bridging divides between cultures, and his speeches and writings on the subject earned him widespread admiration. A curious fact, did you know that he was due to meet with Indira Gandhi the day she was killed? On 21st of October 1984, Ustinov had a scheduled interview with Prime Minister of India for Irish television. She was assassinated on her way to the meeting. And what about his personal life? Well, Ustinov led a particularly active life off-screen too. He adored playing tennis, ocean yachting, and was married 3 times. By the way, his first wife, Isolde Denham, was an older half-sister of Angela Lansbury. We talked about this curious coincidence in my video tribute to Lansbury. Highly recommend checking it out if you missed it. In addition, Ustinov had 4 children, which is not bad considering I'm not a Catholic. And recognition for his contributions to the arts and his tireless work for peace, Peter Ustinov was awarded the CBE in 1975, Commander of the Most Excellent Order of British Empire, and then knighted in 1990, becoming Sir Peter Ustinov. There is another funny anecdote concerning this regal occasion. So, Ustinov's main worry was how to reply to the ceremony invitation from the palace. The invitation said, "Delete whichever is inapplicable. I can kneel, I cannot kneel." But there was nothing for those who can kneel, but not get up.
Oh, can I help you?
Someone must, sir. I may never rise again. Thank you.
Well, despite his advancing age, Ustinov continued to act, write, and give lectures well into his 80s. You see, Ustinov treated getting old the way he treated everything else in this life, as another experience to be added to his repertoire.
Memory is a very soothing thing, and it takes away the unpleasant things. It's when it starts taking away the pleasant things, then you know you're getting old.
When he turned 60, he was asked if he was tempted to take things a little easier. "I only feel 59, he said. But what really surprises me is that I don't say many different things now that I did when I was 20. The only difference is that having white hair means that people tend to listen now. Well, they never did before. When Peter Ustinov died in 2004, the world lost more than just a talented actor. It lost a truly unique and compassionate soul. His ability to entertain audiences with his quick wit and deep empathy, while also engaging in the complex problems of the world, set him apart from his contemporaries. His work remains timeless, and his humanitarian legacy continues to inspire. Ustinov once said, "Comedy is simply a funny way of being serious," and that sentiment perfectly encapsulates his approach to both his art and his life. Whether on stage, in film, or as a champion for children's rights, Peter Ustinov brought light and laughter to even the most serious of situations. The point of living and of being an optimist is to be foolish enough to believe the best is yet to come.
I think I'm an optimist because I know how sad, how challenging, how miserable, how unfair, how unkind life can be. And I think a pessimist is somebody who finds this out new every morning.
Thank you for joining me on this journey through the life and career of Peter Ustinov. I hope you enjoyed this story behind the stars, and I'll see you soon in my other videos on this channel. And yes, let me know in the comments which of Peter Ustinov's performances is your favorite. Bye bye!
You are skeptical. Well, perhaps you would care to pit your wits against mine. Bonne chance, mes amis.